tragedy as better than in real life. This is where we distinguish. Apologies again for Aristotle's quite raging misogyny, but he was an ancient Greek, and he preferred boys. So it's always going to be men in this sense. He does refer to women, but he sees them as a kind of inferior sort of human being, similar to a slave. So he's not winning many fans nowadays. But these are our basic distinctions. The essence of drama, mimesis, imitation. Why? Because we take pleasure in imitation. There is something nice when you watch something imitated, when you watch a representation of something, or see a representation of something. According to Aristotle, this is part of what makes us human, is our ability to imitate and the pleasure that we take in imitation. You very rarely get dogs or cats doing puppetry, because they don't have that same joy in imitation. Comedy, worse, tragedy, better. We'll start from there. Why Oedipus then? Why does Aristotle say Oedipus is great? Well, he, the tragic hero, must be one who is highly renowned and prosperous, a personage like Oedipus. And the best tragedies are founded on the story of a few houses, on the fortunes of people like Oedipus, and those others who have done or suffered something terrible. So this is key to tragedy, this containment within a certain family or concerning fixed characters, and someone who must be high up. Why do you need to be high up? Because if you're born low, you don't have so far to fall, and that won't have the same tragic effect. And there's Oedipus with Antigone there, naked as they always are. Oedipus has, of course, gouged his eyes out by this point, and has gone off. It is actually, when you read the bit where he realises what's happened, it is quite touching. He wants to see his children at the end, but he can't bear to look at them. Obviously, he can't look at them at the very end because he's got no eyes. But he's torn, because he knows that his children are in fact his brothers and sisters. And he knows that he has these impulses as a father, but he also has this natural revulsion. This is one of the things that Oedipus looks at, is the natural order of things, what is morally right. And this is part of drama. At least for Aristotle, there is a moral aspect to it. That by watching drama, you can become a better person. You'll become morally improved. Or at the very least, you will know not to nip into bed with your parents and kill one of them. So, is he better than real life? Because if he's tragic, he must be. The priest in Oedipus Rex says, "If we come to you now, sir, as your suppliants, I and these children, it is not as holding you the equal of gods, but as the first of men, whether in the ordinary business of mortal life, or in the encounters of man with more than man, Oedipus, great and glorious." Do we know anything about Oedipus before he gets to Thebes? Or rather, before this play begins? Oedipus was famous for something else before the incest, murder and mutilation. Any ideas? Yeah, that's it. That's absolutely it. What's got 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, and 3 legs in the evening? Any ideas? A human. Exactly. In the morning, we are children, we crawl. In the afternoon of our lives, we are grown up, we stand on 2 legs. When we get old, we need a stick, we have 3 legs. This is what the Sphinx says to Oedipus. And Oedipus gets it right. And the Sphinx goes, "Oh no, you solved my riddle, I will therefore be devoid of power." Obviously this is a symbol. Oedipus has the ability to see clearly where other people cannot. And this is important in the play, because what he lacks in the play, his error, is precisely his ability to see anything. That makes sense. The famous sort of gouging out of his eyes is symbolic of his kind of mental block, of his blindness to the truth, to facts. And of course Oedipus now is very famous because of Freud and the Oedipal complex. According to Freud, all children, or at least all male children, have the same urge as Oedipus, or something similar, that all male children are very possessive of their mothers to the exclusion of their fathers, who is a figure of fear and hatred, even. And the actual Oedipus gouging his eyes out is, in fact, according to Freud, a fear of castration. But we're not going to mess around with Freud too much because he's a bit weird. But there's some interesting things here. I and these children. The priest has not turned up with a load of kids. The children are just the people of Thebes, which makes Oedipus the father of the nation. And this is key as well. The idea of what the role of the ruler is. The role of the ruler within a city-state should be as a father to his children. Now, there's a whole problem with children in Oedipus, of course, is that his children are also his brothers and sisters, so his children are his equals, and that's another part of the message. So he's not the equal of gods, he's not superhuman, he's not like Hercules, who was the equal of gods, or Theseus, or Perseus, or someone like that. He's just a very, very good man. He doesn't have the ability to fly or anything like that, although he can solve riddles. So, that's what makes Oedipus a tragic hero. Comedy. Although the second book of the Poetics is famously lost, we don't know where it is or what happened to it, we can still kind of work out the ideas of comedy from those little statements, or by comedy as being the inverse of tragedy. So, comedy is an imitation of characters of a lower type. And this is important as well. Characters are types, or they exemplify what a type would do. Types of people. Which is important for humanism, I suppose, as well, because that suggests that there are types of people. People who are this way, or that way, or that way. Where you can categorize them. Aristotle loves categorizing things. Characters of a lower type, not, however, in the full sense of the word bad. So, not necessarily wicked or evil characters in comedy, more ludicrous, grotesque, a subdivision of the ugly. It consists in some defect or ugliness, which is not painful or destructive. According to Aristotle, beauty is dependent upon two things: order, or harmony, and magnitude. By magnitude, it means the correct and appropriate size of something. So it can't be too big, it can't be too small, it's got to be just right. The tale of Goldilocks and the Three Bears might easily be considered an Aristotelian allegory. Aristotle comes up with this thing called the golden mean. The golden mean is that which is in the middle, between lack and between excess, between too little, between too much. And that's, of course, it's no surprise that the character's name is Goldilocks. Goldilocks represents the golden mean. She doesn't want the soft bed, she doesn't want the hard bed, she wants the bed that's just right. She doesn't want the hot porridge, she doesn't want the cold porridge, she wants the porridge that is just right. Failing that, a kebab. So this is what ugliness consists in: a defect. Something which is beyond, something which is excessive. And similarly with tragedy. So, lower types. What about fools? The problem is, in something like Shakespeare, is that the fool is often the person who sees most clearly, because the fool in many ways is standing outside of the political scene. So this fool is someone who is outside the courtly machinations. You'll find this when you read Lear and you look at the fool. He's always just ripping into Lear in a way that other people can't. He makes fun of Lear, whereas if you did that and you were courtier, you'd have, I don't know, your eyes taken out, as Gloucester does. Again, there's always eyeballs going around. There was a performance of King Lear last year with Pete Postlethwaite. Instead of just gouging the eyeball out, as they usually do with Gloucester, someone bit it out, spat it at the crowd, and someone fainted. So it's good times. The fool, is this foolish? Have more than thou showest, speak less than thou knowest, lend less than thou owest, ride more than thou goest, lend more than thou trowest, leave thy drink and thy whore, and keep an adore, and thou shalt have more than 2/10 to a score. You think, well, that's silly rhyming nonsense, but not necessarily, no. This is a lesson in the golden mean. Have more than you appear to have. Don't always speak too much. Don't lend out more than you can afford to. This is saying, be temperate, be moderate.